We got fitness and health, and today is an extra episode of the Change and Grow Wellness Show, which is the show for you, the busy professional who wants to live a healthier, happier life with increased energy and productivity. And this show is powered by the Women of Power Radio Network show. So today we have our guest who is Tina Nade. And she is a renowned yoga and meditation teacher and leadership coach who helps women lower stress, anxiety without hours of meditation, therapy, or pills in around 20 minutes a day. Hi, Tina.
Hi, thanks for having me, Jackie.
Good. I'm so grateful to have you on the show because of your busy schedule. So, Tina, tell us a little bit about you and what you do and what made you do what you do.
Sure, you bet. Well, I've been coaching and teaching yoga and meditation both for just over 10 years. And how I started to come into this type of work was it kind of finds you. Like nobody really chooses this, I think. Maybe they do, I don't know. But for me, I over the years, I found that no matter what women were hiring me for, the main complaint that they had was stress and anxiety that was coming through. And so I started offering the tools that I use myself and have used myself for my own mental health struggles. And then it started kind of snowballing. People were more interested in it. I've started creating courses around it. And because this, like as I've become more open with also my own mental wellness struggles, it became very important to me to share what I have, because there's a lot of not great information out there as well. And I'll share a little bit of my own history just so you know where I'm coming from. So when my first mental health struggles started, I was actually 12. So I went to my GP in a 5-minute conversation. I was given sleeping pills. Well, they made me hallucinate, so I didn't take them more than once. They terrified me. And then the next time I went to the GP at 14, I was given antidepressants. And I wasn't given, nobody asked me what was going on, if there was any challenges going on at home, what would maybe be causing me to feel this way. I was just given medication and a label. And labels are really powerful because they then determine not only how we see ourselves, but then what's possible for us. And when we're given labels that are limiting, like if you have depression or anxiety or PTSD or, these kinds of things, often we take that on and it becomes even more of a self-fulfilling prophecy, rather than recognizing that for most people, like aside from 4% of people who have a serious mental illness that will not change, but for the majority of us, mental health issues are just that. They're temporary and episodic, and there's things that we can do to empower ourselves to stay healthier longer, so we have like more space in between those illnesses, and also so that they're not so intense. And I kind of like to describe it as like a cold versus a chronic disease. Like with a chronic disease like diabetes, you have it 24 hours a day all the time. It's not something that you're going to have every once in a while. Whereas with most of us with mental health issues, it's like a cold. It doesn't mean that you're never going to get them. You might have 10 colds in 10 years, but it doesn't mean that you are a chronically ill person with a cold. Yeah. And so I think that differentiation is really important because then it gives us space to let go of that label and embrace really the fullness of who we are, rather than the label that may have been given to us. So with my own mental health struggles, I was diagnosed with depression at 14, put on antidepressants, and then by the time I was 17, they'd actually diagnosed me with bipolar and put me on lithium. And wow. That was, which I don't have, and I think it was a misdiagnosis. But what that did was kind of solidify for me that like my life was hopeless. I didn't see any future ahead of me. And I also realized at that time, because lithium is scary, if you've never been on it, it numbs everything, like you feel nothing at all, that if nobody could save me but me. Like, people were trying, I was being given medication, I was seeing a psychiatrist, and I realized that nobody was going to be able to actually do this but me. And so I'm not recommending this by any means, but this is what I did at 17, was I flushed all my pills, and I decided to temporarily go back home so I could finish high school and go to university. And that's what I did. And I was symptom free. After I've been symptom free up until a couple of years ago, well, not couple now, it's like 7 years ago, I was in 3 car accidents in 3 years. Oh. And I I know, they weren't my fault. I'm a really good driver, for real. But they were all really bad. My cars were totaled every time. And so after that, I was diagnosed with PTSD. And I started developing panic attacks, very hallmark symptoms of anxiety disorder, where, you know, my mind was racing, I was having obsessive thoughts, that kind of thing. And with the help of, I went to a psychologist once who gave me an interesting treatment called EMDR that got rid of the trigger. And then I was able to get rid of the symptoms myself as well. After the birth of my son, which was just a couple of years ago now, I was re-triggered with PTSD after a difficult birth, and then I also got PPD, which, you know, likely they were connected. And then I also have this beautiful baby who didn't sleep at all. And so you know, with this sleep deprivation on top of all of these things, I really was drowning. And it took actually a phone call from my best friend to my husband behind my back, saying she's drowning, that it woke me up to start making changes again. Because I was in denial. I didn't want to believe. I'm like, no, wait, like, I'm super healthy. I do all the right things. I exercise, you know, I eat well, but I was crying all the time. And I just wanted to believe that it was normal, because I didn't want to actually face that, you know, I was not doing well. And once I really put the wheels in motion to shift what was happening internally for me, I was symptom free within a month. So that's that's amazing in itself. So it was really after the birth of my son and getting over my my own experience of PPD that inspired me to go out in a bigger way, sharing my own personal struggles, and also more I guess be able to impact more people by making courses and sharing my story to help a larger audience. Because before I was just, you know, doing it within my own small private practice, but now I'm offering my courses to corporations, as well as within my private practice, because I really feel like so many of us struggle. Most of us are struggling at some point. And the statistics in Canada, at least, is that 1 in 2 Canadians will be diagnosed with mental illness before they're 40. So this is like some serious stuff, you know, and and when we're not given any education, we're just giving medication. And I'm not saying medication is wrong for everybody by any means, but we do have a lot of power ourselves to change what happens within our own mind and emotions with very simple tools that are all research-based. It's not like I'm, you know, really fluffy and out there. Although I do teach yoga, I'm extremely practical. And I like to know things work, and I also don't have time like everybody else. So I need to know that they're going to work quickly. Yeah. So that's all of it in a nutshell. That was a lot.
It's so good. It's so good. Do you want to tell us a bit about what does EMDR? What was
EMDR? So I don't teach this, obviously. This is done by psychologists, but it's so it was from what I was told is that it's a rapid eye movement thing, that therapy that's given to, it started from Vietnam vets, and I don't know the therapist or the psychologist who came up with it, but he realized kind of as he was looking around, he was able to start shifting things mentally. And so how it worked is it's a somatic experience where you go in and relive the trauma, and then you come out of it and you move your eyes back and forth, not your head, like you have to move your eyes back and forth to the psychologist's finger, and then you go back. And I guess what it does is it softens the trigger so that you no longer have the symptoms of the triggering event. So for me, it was snow, and I live in Canada. We get snow, so every time it snowed, I was having panic attacks because I had to.
Yeah.
That's not very good.
No, it's really funny because I think I had that kind of treatment. I did a kind of a health and well-being day, and there
Mhm.
was a mind coach. We didn't actually explain what it was, but it sounds exactly the same because he said I had to go back into exactly because I have panic attacks about going over flyovers.
Yes, I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah, yeah, and I met this guy. That was not long after speaking to you. Actually, it's really weird. And I met him at a health and wellbeing fair, and he shone this light, and I had to move my eyes.
Yeah.
But it was like I had to go back into how I felt at the time when I had the panic attack when I'm going over the flyover, and so we did that, and then yeah, he did that, and then it's actually been really weird because I go on flyovers now with the windows open, the wind going through the car, and it's like it's completely crazy. I'm just like, has that actually worked? Because I said to him, unless I go over this flyover that I've been to at my friends that I really hate going over, I
Mhm.
won't actually give him a testimony. But I have noticed that I've been going over like little small bridges and stuff like that with the windows open because it's so hot. It has been hot over the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm assuming it worked, but I still said to him, I'm waiting till I go over.
Yeah.
But it sounds like the same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's amazing. Yeah, you can Google it, EMDR, and it's like it's kind of it seemed weird at the time, but
yeah.
I'm very I know that from my own research and that somatic types of therapy are really helpful for relieving trauma because it just takes
Mm,
the edge off that trigger so that
yeah,
it doesn't click every single time. Yeah.
yeah. It's amazing.
And you can still have the memory, it's just not traumatizing, right? So.
Mm.
Mhm.
So tell us a little bit about how you reduce stress in 20 minutes, because I'd really like to know what kind of things do I need to be doing to do that.
Well, that's my secret sauce. And because I'm really big on things that are simple, practical, and effective in almost no time. And so within my course, the Fearless course, it's a 6-week program, and I share all kinds of things. It's based on mindfulness practice, and mindfulness practice is also a heavily researched type of meditation that is known to rapidly reduce stress and anxiety very and long term. Like people who take like a 6 or 8 week mindfulness course are known to, even if they stop after that, to feel the effects for months afterwards.
Yeah.
And so it's great because it helps rewire your mind. So that's one of them, mindfulness. And then I also teach within the course a lot of physiology, like what's happening within you in a stress response. You understand exactly what's happening when you're having a fight or flight or a panic attack, as well as how your mind works and how you can train it to start, instead of like looking for everything that's wrong, which is often what we're doing when we're in a place of stress, because that's all we
Mm,
can see is often the negatives, to rewire your mind to start seeing the positives in your life because they're always there. It's not like, they only come up once in a while. It's just what you're looking at. And so
yeah.
training your mind to see that. And that's one of the other practices that I teach. And then another one, which a lot of people resist at first, but this is also a highly researched technique, is part of it is just also reaching out to a wider network. So that means not just calling your mom every once in a while, but like maybe calling your mom's friend and seeing if they want to meet for a coffee or something, because social networks are proven, strong and wide social networks are proven to not only increase our longevity of our life, but also our happiness and health. We live
Mm,
longer and healthier and happier when we have these strong social networks. And particularly with anxiety and stress, what do? We tend to turn in. But those
yeah.
who turn out are the ones who are more highly successful. They actually make more money. There's like all of these other interesting statistics that come along with it. So I encourage them to also reach out and make these connections, whether it doesn't always have to be a coffee date. Who's got time to go for coffee every day? I know I don't anyways, but maybe it's a quick phone call or a thank you note, or reaching out in some way to feel that connection of others around you. So those are a few of the tools that are in there. Mm-hmm.
And you know that connection, I mean, I know you said it's like your mom's friend. Is it like someone that's outside of your support network?
Yeah, so it can be within, but also with expanding that beyond. So
Yes.
maybe it's like one of your best friends that you would like to connect with, that, you know, maybe
Yeah.
you had a good interaction with, but you didn't know. Or maybe
Yeah.
you want to hang out, you know, meet with your mom's friend, or, you know, just get to know them better. But we build a lot of our good feelings from being around others and connections, and also new connections. And like they say, even meaningful connections with like the grocery clerk, or, you know, your letter carrier, all of these contribute to feelings of well-being.
Yeah. No,
Mhm.
it's really important, because it's something that, you know, I sometimes do with my clients. It's about people finding, like, say it's someone that you've had a connection with, but you haven't made that connection real, if you see what I mean. You haven't made that connection. You really want to, but you
Yeah.
haven't. So it's like stepping outside of your comfort zone and getting in contact with that person. Mm.
Absolutely. And anxiety, of course, keeps us from doing that. Like a lot of people experience some kind of social anxiety, or, but the science behind confidence building is also, you know, stretching beyond our perceived limitations and comfort. And so there's also that side effect of confidence boosting, because every time that you stretch further and get yourself a little bit more uncomfortable, you're building your resilience, you're building your confidence, and then you're making new friends. Like, that's awesome. Who doesn't want to make new friends? You never know what kind of gems are out there, right? Your new best friend could be out there, just a
Exactly.
phone call
Exactly.
away or a text away.
Mm. So I know you don't do yoga that as much anymore, and
Mhm.
that you're more focused in this, aligned with, you know, anxiety and building people's confidence. So what type of yoga did you do before? What were you doing?
I taught almost everything. So at one point, yeah, I've been teaching a long time, and I used to teach like full time. So I taught a lot. So I taught Ashtanga yoga, vinyasa. I still teach vinyasa, yin yoga, restorative. The only thing I didn't really teach a lot of is like hatha and iyengar, just because it's not, I've never practiced a lot of it, so I never felt really confident teaching it. And I personally like more of like a flow myself. So those types of practices, the ones that I've mentioned, I tend to, and also hot yoga, like hot vinyasa, that kind of thing. I taught that as well. Mm-hmm.
Mm. So does any of that flow into what you do? Because I expect you still do meditation
Mm-hmm.
as a part of your practice, but does any of the yoga still flow into anything that you do?
Absolutely. Like one of the amazing benefits of yoga, why it's so particularly amazing for things like depression, anxiety, low confidence, those kinds of things, is that it challenges you to move past your perceived boundaries. You know, the ask is really that you move to your edge. And a lot of people don't, you know, we don't want to meet our edges anywhere in our life, right? We don't want to feel uncomfortable at any time. But what happens if you allow yourself to try and fail and try and fail and fall down, is that you start to build confidence within yourself, and confidence in your capacity to get back up, which is really what builds confidence and resilience. And that comes by practicing, and practicing falling, practicing failing, practicing sucking, practicing being a beginner. And it's like that with any new skill set, of course, like whether it's, you know, working out, or, you know, I know that you teach a lot of fitness classes. We all have that beginner mind where, you know, where we don't know what we're doing at first, but you're willing to get uncomfortable and messy and try it out. And that's where the benefits come from. And I don't think it really matters what type of yoga you do, as long as you're consistently, and it doesn't mean that you're trying to kick your own butt every time, right? But it's and because you want to meet yourself with kindness and compassion, and meet yourself in a way that you're listening to what's happening internally, like not too far, but at
Mm.
least start to meet those places, rather than, oh, I can't do that, I don't do handstands, oh no, I don't do this, you know, that's not for me. But there's lots of ways that you can, you know, practice not the actual handstand pose, but getting ready for it, where that'll also build your confidence.
Mm.
And then the other thing that is so powerful about yoga that kind of slides into this is is the mindfulness. So not all yoga is taught this way, of course, but this is because mindfulness has been my practice for over a decade. This is how I teach. And it's teaching people to be with difficult sensations in their body, to be able to control and manage their breath so that they can keep their nervous system calm, and also to keep that presence within their bodies and their minds so that they have that meditative quality that's steady and non-reactive, yet open and curious. And so I think in almost any type of yoga practice, you can bring that mindfulness aspect to it, even though it's not formal. And then, they also get that benefit of emotional regulation and emotional intelligence and resilience and all that wonderful stuff that comes along with it.
Mm. Okay, thank you. I can just hear my cat making loads of noise.
Bring your cat in.
No.
I love kitty cats.
She's just a bit hot, I think. And
so
she gets because it's a bit too hot, and she's long haired, so she gets a bit bothered by it.
Does she let you get her wet at all?
Eh?
Does she let you get her wet at all to cool off?
She's not feeling that.
No. I had one cat that loved it, loved it. I know, it's so weird. He was a weird cat.
Cool. Okay, moving on from the cat. She's found something else now. So, because you did leadership coaching, so how does this all entwine together, all what you do with the leadership coaching?
Sure. Well, I worked with a number of executives over the years, and one of the things that a good leader embodies is a lot of actually the parts of mindfulness, or aspects of mindfulness. And I've actually started developing a mindful leadership course because of that, because mindful leaders tend to be less biased. They can see a larger perspective and tend to make better decisions, because rather than being impulse based or reactive, they're able to kind of step out of, if you can imagine a turbulent river with everything going on, they can kind of step out of the river and look from the riverbank at everything that's going on, and then make better decisions for everybody. So this all fits in. These are things that a lot of major companies are starting to lean towards as well, like Google and Intel, and the big, very innovative ones, of course, because it just makes them better leaders and more authentic leaders. They can show up in a way that they are able to connect to those that are working for them on a real level, and get that respect, and where people are inspired by them and want to be able and want to support what that higher vision is.
Good, brilliant. I love a quote that I found on your page. It was about your adoring fans and clients have said that you really have a glowing energy, which we've seen, and you're contagious, and that you're one woman that's called you precious. I can't even read my own writing. Ability to empower others. What does that kind of mean to you in terms of you overall? Because it sounds really positive and really connecting. People feel really connected to you when they work with you, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm one of those people that what you see is what you get. And I don't mean kind of like a jerk, but I'm very, as you can already see, I'm very open and authentic. And I really believe in the power of connection, and all of us want to be seen. And so, working with me, I really want to see you and what's going on with you. And rather than being one of those people who would rather you just keep paying to see me, which of course is really lovely, I want you to have the tools to be able to empower yourself. And I really feel that the best thing that we can do in every case is to do that inner work. And it doesn't mean it's easy. Like if it was easy, everybody would do it, you know, because I think why so many of us gravitate towards things like, and I'm not minimizing the effects of pills by any means, but a lot of people, like, they just want something that's just going to work for them, so they don't have to deal with maybe, you know, the uncomfortable things that are going on, or the reality of the situation that we have, or, you know, looking at shifting our lifestyles, whether that's not looking at social media so much. But watch this, because this is good. But, you know, so many of us get stuck in this trap of the comparing mind, comparing our lives to other people's lives. And, you know, maybe ours doesn't measure up, we see, to, you know, our friends or our followers. We're not as far along, or we don't have the same status or money, or our kids look, you know, don't look as beautiful or as perfect or as, you know, put together or as well behaved or whatever, or, you know, our life doesn't look like that as well. And then, you know, when we're comparing our real life to somebody else's highlight reel, you know. So there's this disconnect of what's happening. So I really believe that, you know, through some simple tools and, you know, not always the most comfortable, like mindfulness isn't the most comfortable thing to do, but that's where the resilience is built. And that's also where we become not as reactive and become happier. Like, really, our happiness baseline raises just from being able to be comfortable with discomfort, and shifting our lifestyles to accommodate that. So I don't know if that answered your question. I'm just realizing now I'm like empowered. Maybe I touched it, but
you're good. Okay, so I just wanted to ask you, you've got on your website about 20 rules that you live by. If you can explain the few of those rules that you live by and that you use.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually had to pull up the post, because this is just what I do every day. You know, it's not necessarily what I'm, you know, thinking about the list. But so the first one that I have here is, don't wait for permission before you act, or it will never come. I think so many of us, particularly women, we wait for the right opportunity. We wait for permission. We wait till somebody thinks it's okay, instead of, you know, I'm going to do this, let's make it happen. And so rather than, you know, waiting for someone to shoulder tap you, and this is like a huge thing for confidence, particularly because women don't tend to go for promotions or, you know, ask for raises, all of these things that tend to be easier for men because they're not as risk averse. So, like, the big thing is, don't wait for permission. Just act, just make it happen. And the second one that I have on here is, choose to see the light in others, and they will start to see it in themselves. And this has been like one of the big things that, with working with every client, every interaction with every person I have, is choosing to see that inner light. And this is a yoga thing as well. Like, we say namaste, and namaste means that essentially that I see and recognize the light in you that is also within me. And so many of us forget that we have that light, or we remember it just after a yoga class. And then, you know, we get into our to-do list and we forget, and we, you know, we are complaining about things in our life, or we're not very happy or something. And we forget that there's something deeper within us that is observing this human experience. And if you can see that and recognize it in others, they start to see that beauty within themselves. And then I'll just say one more, which is the third one here, and that's to approach your life as though it matters, and it will. And this is a big mindset shift that is extremely powerful, because it doesn't matter what it is. If you approach it in a way that it matters, it will become meaningful. And your life does matter. It's often, you know, we don't maybe see it in the moment when we're feeling anxiety or depression or overwhelmed or whatever. We're just trying to get through our day. But if you can start to see this in a larger context of maybe that you can inspire others through your story, or that you empowering yourself and taking charge of your life is going to help somebody else along their journey, and seeing that we're all connected in that way, and that all of us matter, and your life matters, and that even though you can't see maybe how it fits in the moment, that you have this amazing impact that you can make in the world. And the cool thing is that every single one of us will influence 1,000 people within our circle. 1,000. So we think, oh, little old me, who am I? I'm just living in a small city in Canada. It's not very sexy. It's in the prairies. But, like every single one of us, the average person has a circle of influence over 1,000 people. So that means that what you do, your behaviors, your actions will influence not only your best friend, but it'll influence your kid's best friend's mom.
Yeah.
Your kids, but like that's 3 degrees away, like amazing. So your behavior, the way you see the world, your positivity, your kindness, all of this stuff, it makes a difference. It's a huge ripple effect. So it's worth doing. It's worth doing. Everybody benefits from it.
Brilliant. Thank you, Tina.
Oh, you're so welcome.
So, Tina, we've come to the end of my show, but I want to know a little bit about your Fearless community, because that's something that you offer free, isn't it? Can you tell us a bit about that?
Absolutely. So I have a free Facebook community called Fearless, and I think you actually put the link to it, which is great. And it's a safe place for smart, resourceful women to gain tools for free. Like I just offer practical tools and really simple tricks that you can use and implement in your life right now to lower anxiety, overwhelm, and stress. And it's a fantastic community. It's very supportive. And I offer lots of really great tools. So yeah, you're welcome to join me in there anytime. I also do offer a free perfect day exercise as well that you can access on my website. And that's what I consider to be the most important yet undervalued, I guess, exercise to start reducing stress and anxiety. And that's that most people don't know what their life would look like without it. We're swimming in it, really, our overwhelm and stress, that we don't often recognize that there is a way out. And part of it is seeing what is it that you want, what would be your life instead, so that you can start to create your roadmap to it. So that's also free on my website too.
Okay. Do you want to tell us your website? I know it's on the...
Yeah. So it's TinaHnatiuk.com. It's my name, and it's TinaHnatiuk.com. And I wish I had a name as simple as yours, man, because then people can help it so much easier.
And I don't really use the Jacqueline. I just use Jackie.
And the worst part is my maiden name. My background is Finnish, so my maiden name. So Hnatiuk is bad enough because it's got a silent H at the beginning, but my maiden name was Tapaninen. It was 9 letters. Like, who can?
Oh wow!
Who can spell that? Nobody, unless you're Finnish, they would know right away. But that's not. I don't know very many Finns other than my own family.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Okay, Tina, so thank you for being on today. It's been wonderful. So you've told us about, Tina's told us about some freebies that she's got. So make sure you go onto our website and get those, and share this out, because this has been a really interesting talk with me and Tina tonight around stress and anxiety and and overwhelm and how you can overcome that. So look forward to seeing you on my normal show time, which is tomorrow night. Today was an extra episode. Thank you for Tina for coming on for that extra episode. And I will see you all tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, same time, for the Change and Grow show. Bye.
Thank you.